are not live. We are pre-recorded. Just for the sake of Boatman's schedule on Wednesday, I wanted to get him on this episode because he's got hot takes. But still be in the chat, be active. I will probably be there on Wednesday night. But we've got a fun one tonight. It's movie villains over everything, so animated to otherwise. I have an interesting panel. I have a panel I respect, a panel I hate. So it should be a lot of fun, hopefully. First, I will go to my producer, the man that helps me every Wednesday, the man that's been in the most episodes. And I don't think La La Land will appear on this one, so this is a good thing for everybody. Koho, how are you feeling? Do you feel like you're going to get last place for the fourth, fifth, sixth straight time in a row?
Probably, but joke's on you. The number one villain on my list is the heartbreak of La La Land. That's what my number one villain of all time is. Suck it, Cody. I worked it in.
Fucking yikes. Okay, and we'll go to a manager in the families, maybe? We'll go to Brooklyn Vail. Brooklyn, how are you doing? You made this list very late at night, not very in the clear headspace, but you stuck with it and made some changes early in the morning. But do you feel like you're going to have a bad list or a good list?
I mean, it's always, like, you and I always disagree in terms of, like, judging and debates and shit, so it's probably going to be a bad list, but that's almost expected at this point. I am always the inferior to your alpha, good sir.
That's 100% true. Next, the biggest heel in this community, the sandpaper to my ass, Boatman. How are you doing? You normally make stupid lists, but I let you on here anyways. Do you feel like you're going to have a better list than the person born pretty much the same year as you, or will you have a worse list than him?
I think I will have a better list because I've actually seen movies made before 1980. But yeah,
Star Wars.
What?
I think you've seen Star Wars. Didn't that come 77?
Like 3 movies from the 70s, and then also Ichabod and Mr. Toad, and that's about it.
That's a valid point. So you think you're having a better list? That's fair. And I got on the show first time, long time caller, first time watcher, whatever. Jay Burns, do you think you're going to have a good list for your first show, or do you think it's going to be rough?
I always expect my lists to be rough, but I think I've got a pretty decent list, and I tried not to go too far out of the box with it. Like, some of my picks might be a little bit on the more subtle side, but yeah.
Oh, so off-brand, but I like that. Okay, so how the show works, everybody creates a top 10 list. I judge them accordingly. I do not get to have a list myself, so I just get to be pissed off about that the entire show and let you know how I feel. Sometimes I agree that they're good choices, and sometimes I don't. We're going to start with 10, 9, 8, and then move our way up until we reveal everybody's top 10. The first person going tonight is Brooklyn Vail. Brooklyn, start the shit show off.
All right, so at number 10, I know my favorite son would be proud of me for having him on this list. Saruman from Lord of the Rings.
Okay, what's your 9?
My 9 is Michael Myers from Halloween.
And what is your 8?
My 8 is the one Darth Vader from Star Wars.
Does anybody have Vader higher? Is Vader on anybody else's list? It's on your list. Is it higher than, or is it in the same spot?
No, it's roughly in the same spot.
Just give me the number.
8. Oh,
Okay,
I'm sorry,
good.
9. 9.
9. Okay,
9.
so good. You'll both talk about it. Brooklyn, you will talk about Vader. Well, first you'll talk about your 10-9 and 10-9, and then you guys will talk about Vader together. Go ahead.
I love Saruman because, like, in terms of, like, the high fantasy genre, he's just very, like, he's very proper, and he presents himself very, very fancily, and just the way that he talks and how he interacts with Gandalf is quite interesting. It's a base sort of like intellect approach as opposed to like a physical approach that you would often see in the fantasy epics. Michael Myers from Halloween he lets his actions speak before any of his words, like anytime in the movie, you just pop open the door, there he is, just sort of standing there noble. And even that, just on its own, is like, oh shit. He's one of the more scarier slasher villains without really having to do a whole lot. And then Darth Vader, I'm known for sort of thinking Star Wars is overrated, but Darth Vader is probably the best part of the saga. Sort of a cooler cousin version of Saruman, where he does keep himself proper, but he is a little more emotionally unstable. And you get to see that in Rogue One, where he gets to sort of just destroy a bunch of rebels. So,
Jay, say your piece on Vader.
I chose Vader just for like the simple fact you get to watch, even with the prequels, as much as nobody likes to bring them up, you get to watch this good person just turn evil, and then you do get to see 4, 5, and 6, and you do have that badass lightsaber scene in Rogue One. It's my favorite fucking lightsaber battle. But yeah, Darth Vader made my list because you get to watch somebody turn evil, basically.
All right, so basically I get to rip on these, and no one else does. Saruman, probably the weakest part of the trilogy for me, honestly. I like the little battles, but he's always in like the background, and I like a villain to kind of take charge. So 10's fine. If any higher, I would have been a little upset with it. 9 is Michael Myers. Yeah, there's some shit films out there, but at the end of the day, I still think I like Michael Myers more than Jason or Freddy or any of them. So that's kind of my viewpoint on Michael Myers. 9's a fair point. 8, Vader, some people would consider a little low, but I'm okay with it, honestly. I am one on the negative side of Rogue One. I hate the Rogue One stuff because it ruins Episode 4 because he forgets how to use a lightsaber after he slices a bunch of folks about 2 hours ago. So it doesn't. That piece doesn't fit, but the rest, I get it. He just shows redemption at the end. Is this the Hayden Christensen Vader? Because he murdered a bunch of children, or the one that redeems himself? I guess they're the same person, but not biased. All right, we'll move on to Boatman. Boatman, give us your 10, 9, 8.
10, a movie no one on this call has seen. It is Harry Powell from The Night of the Hunter. Yeah, didn't think so. Number 9 is Judge Claude Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame. And number 8 is Vincent from Collateral.
Okay. No one had any of those? Go ahead.
All right. Harry Powell and The Night of the Hunter. This is a movie from 1955, so of course no one on this call has seen it, but I think this is really interesting. So he's posing as a preacher. Basically, that's the whole thing, is that this character is pretending to be a preacher because he was in prison with somebody and who robbed a bank and stashed all the money in this house with this widow and her children. And he is basically trying to manipulate the widow and her kids into giving up where this treasure is, and then he's going to kill them. And the fact that he is a preacher and he's so respected by everybody in his community is what's really terrifying about this character. Over to Judge Claude Frollo. This character, what I really think is great about him is he thinks he's doing the right thing. He always rationalizes all of his evil intentions and finds a way to make them seem like they're the right thing to do, which I think is just fascinating. And my number 8 is Vincent from Collateral, Tom Cruise's character. Just this kind of suave, by the book, kind of hitman character. Tom Cruise giving a great performance. This movie's great, and he's the best part of it.
Yeah, we'll skip from 10. Haven't seen it, don't have an opinion on it. Judge Frollo, interesting pick. We'll see if there's any other animated characters on your list moving forward on that one. But as a lower tier, sure, he is truly evil. By the way, I love Koho's reaction while you were describing your number 10. He couldn't be any more just blah on your choice. But Hunchback, honestly, yes, that one. And Vincent, I'm very, very happy that you included Vincent on this list. I think this is one of Tom Cruise's best acting performances by far. And for people not to give it credit, they still go to Top Gun and stuff like that over him. But I think his Vincent is insane in this movie, and I love Collateral. So. So far, you have a pretty good list so far. We will go to Jay Burns.
All right. My 10 are the zombies from Night of the Living Dead. My number 9 is Vader. We already talked about that. And my number 8 is Roy Batty from Blade Runner.
Okay. Start with 10.
It's the first movie where you really get to see zombies, and they're nothing but an undead horde. They do strike fear and terror into somebody, and I think that's what makes a perfect villain. Even though it's a group of them, it scared the shit out of me when I watched it when I was younger. It's not your most straightforward basic pick, but zombies. We already talked about Vader. There's not really much more to say. So Roy Batty from Blade Runner. Roy Batty is one of those villains that you really kind of can empathize with. I put him on here because he is one of my favorite quote unquote villains. He doesn't think that he's doing anything wrong. He's a replicant. He just wants to live a life. He doesn't want to be a slave. And in order for him to live free, he has to do some evil shit, which unfortunately does make him a villain. And yeah, he's just trying to be a thing, if not a person, in a world where he kind of can't, so he's making his own way.
Yeah. So your number 10 was zombies. Tiny bit of a cop-out in my book. I get it, but I'm not a huge fan. I like the movie. I just don't top 10, maybe not so much. We'll go to your 9, which is Vader, of course, and then Roy Batty. Great choice. I think Blade Runner does not get the credit it deserves in this community for sure. There are certain people that really love it. Certain people will never watch it. But 8's an appropriate choice, I think. Not too bad on that one. So, yeah, so far, so good. We're not doing too bad on our bottom half. I know we're going to get worse, but here we go. Koho, 10-9-8.
I'm going to hit you with one of those personal picks. My number 10 is the Headless Horseman from The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. So, I think that chase sequence is incredible in the entire Ichabod half of that movie. You feel the presence and the menace of the Headless Horseman. So him coming in at 10, like he's a menacing presence and a haunting figure that inevitably, spoilers, wins, which is really fuck you, Boatman. Really unusually heard of for a villain, especially in a Disney movie. So I put him at 10. My number 9 is Patricia from Split. If I had to pick one of the personalities, this is the one you pick, not the Beast. And my number 8 is Davy Jones, Pirates of the Caribbean, Dead Man's Chest. Anyone have those before I go back and talk about that?
What is wrong with you?
You don't get to talk on 8, 9, and 10. Otherwise, I could have told you pretentious ass to shut the fuck up about your 10. All right. So, again, number 10, Headless Horseman, menacing. Number 9, I went with Patricia from Split. You could pick the Beast. The Beast is physically imposing, but the mastermind of the entire horde is Patricia. And I didn't want to pick multiple people for one sort of villain, so I chose Patricia to personify all of them. In Split, she's the one that's she's gentle, but underlying terrifying. You could tell, she's telling you she loves you, but she's about to slit your throat, sort of maternal sort of character. And McAvoy plays Patricia excellently. And Davy Jones, I think, is the best villain of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. Now he's phenomenal. And just especially Dead Man's Chest. I think at World's End, he becomes a little more human and empathetical. But so I chose Dead Man's Chest, where he is just the scariest pirate on the 7 seas, where he tortures Will. He orders Will's dad to beat him, the 99 souls with Davy Jones and the threats to Johnny Depp. He another villain who wins at the end of that movie when he kills Jack Sparrow with the Kraken. So yeah.
Okay, you're 10. Shocker, but I'm not shocked. Whatever. It's your 10. 9 from Split is an abomination. Best villains, and you pick one of the personalities of Split. I hate this choice of everything in me. I don't like Split. I think Split, and everybody raves about that movie when it came out. It's fine. It's just nothing to write home about. I can't disagree with you. Davy Jones is great. I have been on record to say Dead Man's Chest is it's probably my favorite Pirates movie, to be honest. I like the first one, but those two, I like the first two. The rest of them I can't stand. But those first two are really, when he looks at him and says, "Do you fear death?" Is great. I think he doesn't get enough credit for that character. So don't hate an 8. I hate your 9, and your 10's predictable. But we will move on. Brooklyn, you're going to start it. You're going to go 7 through 4, one at a time. Talk about it. If anybody has it higher, please stop, say yikes, and move on. Okay.
All right. Number 7 is my only animated choice, and that is Syndrome from The Incredibles.
No.
No. All right. I thought Syndrome is like one of the greatest in terms of like meta villains. Like they just sort of wrote him where he isn't like fourth wall breaking, but he sort of knows where he's at as a villain. I thought he was cast perfectly by Jason Lee. That's probably like the right voice to do. And just to see his process of like, he was abandoned by Mr. Incredible, and now this is sort of the revenge thing. And then when he has them up in the little fucking bubbles thing or whatever, it's like, you caught me monologuing. It's like he knows that he's following the trends, but he's having so much fun with it, and that's probably one of the greatest things about a villain is that whenever they're having fun, he becomes relatable, and that's why people sort of grasp in those kind of villains.
Okay, anybody opinion on Syndrome?
Was he really abandoned by Mr. Incredible though?
Valid point.
Syndrome's good.
I love Jason Lee. I love his portrayal as him, but
it's the evil version of Brody from Mallrats, and I'm here for it. I think it's a fair top 10 pick. It didn't make my list, but it's a fair pick.
I get it, but like at the same time, if you're gonna pick an animated villain, I wouldn't go to Syndrome. I think there's some big ones that you don't have if this is your only animated one. So
okay, you probably put Chick Hicks from Cars on your list.
You shut your mouth. You're not the one to dig in, everybody. I'm the one. Listen, I think the biggest problem was when you said this is your only animated and you included this character. I'm fine with it. This is just an entitled child that didn't get what he wanted and decided that I'm going to become bad because I didn't get my way. And a swift swat to the rear end sometimes changes those kids' directions. So Mr. Incredible should have hit him with the strength right in the rear, and it would have changed Buddy's direction. But Syndrome's fine. I love Syndrome as a character. As Incredibles, I think, is your favorite Pixar movie, if I'm correct.
Pretty well, yeah.
Pretty well, close to Inside Out, but it makes sense why this one goes. So fine. 7's a little high, and it's sad that there's no other animated. But we'll move on to your 6.
So 6 is another superhero villain. We go back to Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock.
Anybody? You all are dead to me. Go ahead.
Yikes! So Doc Ock is sort of another relatable villain, and I think this is sort of like the way that I'd sort of describe it is like a second degree villain, where he makes a lot of actions based on emotional response, because you can tell at the start of the movie and towards the end, he's trying to do what's right, but then when the whole thing that happens with his wife or whatever, that's when he sort of snaps, and he's like, all right, well, now I'm doing things just to help her, regardless of whether or not they're right or wrong. Just the chemistry that he has with Peter Parker is great. He's physically intimidating as well as intellectually stimulating, which is a great balance. But that's where I have him at 6.
Alfred Molina, this character, is fantastic to me. I love this character. That scene when he's on the train and he moves everybody out of the way and goes right for Parker, it's so good. I think he's the best portrayal of an actual comic book Spider-Man villain on screen. I love Mysterio in Far From Home, but that's not Mysterio from the comics. That's MCU's Mysterio. I absolutely think Doc Ock, and it still holds up. Regardless of how you feel about the Raimi trilogy, yes, cheesy, yes, dated, yes, annoying.
Bad.
Still you're an idiot. You like Amazing Spider-Man 2. Please shut the hell up. But Doc Ock is brilliant, and still to this day as revered as one of the best comic book villains of all time. No questions asked. The rest of the panel, I know how Koho feels, and I can't wait to hear his entitled rant about why he didn't fall in love with Spider-Man 2 because he was a fetus. But Jay Burns, what do you think about Spider-Man Doc Ock?
I really like this pick. I just tried to make a list that didn't include superheroes, maybe with the exception of Darth Vader, just because you can populate an entire list with superhero villains. But if I was to choose one, this would probably be it.
That's 100% fair. Boatman.
No, yeah, this is a great pick. I just like my 10 more, but No, this is a great pick, great character, great movie. Koho, you can't blame it on his age because we're the same age, and I like this movie. Koho just has horrible opinions.
So less Jamie. If Jamie Foxx was in this in blue, it'd be a fucking winner.
No.
But tell us why it's
Spider-Man.
not a good one.
Spider-Man 2 is the only decent movie in this trilogy. They all feel like they're directed by Joel Schumacher on his Batman and Robin kick. But Spider-Man 2 is the only one that feels more like Batman Forever than Batman and Robin, and Doc Ock is part of the reason why it works. I think he's the best villain in any of the non-MCU Spider-Man movies. He trumps anyone in the Amazing Spider-Man by a landslide. He trumps anyone in the original trilogy. I think Vulture and Mysterio are both better villains, better written villains, better acted villains, just barely. Vulture more than Mysterio, but Doc Ock is not a bad pick. I can't be mad at you for putting that on your list, but he'd be my third choice for Spider-Man villains in movies.
Shocker, the guy that's in Cars is a better villain for Spider-Man. Not a shocker there, everyone. Gosh, your takes are so bad sometimes. Okay, let's move to 5.
Their 5 is Regina George from Mean Girls.
Okay, no one else, but I fucking respect the choice, so continue on.
Regina George is a fucking bitch. She's a bully, and she encapsulates everything that I hated about bullies in high school. She installs the fear in like to not only the school but even the rest of the plastics. Like she is the leader, and she will not tone down, or she won't filter her feelings. Like it's very upfront, very blunt, and oftentimes it's hurtful, but that's sort of her personality. And I think it's a great performance by Rachel McAdams, and like even the way that she works off of Amy Poehler, who plays her mom, and Amy Poehler is like super, like she tries to be like the cool hip mom, and it sort of just plays off like, shut up, mom, like let me do my own thing. All right, you do your own thing, honey. But yeah, I think in terms of like coming of age, and this is definitely more of a personal choice because I sort of grew up. I was coming of age as this movie was released, so I watched it a lot in high school. But yeah,
this is me and my wife's favorite movie together. My wife doesn't like movies, but this is the one let's watch this. Oh no, fine, we'll watch fucking Mean Girls again for the 40th time. Regina George once punched me in the face, and it was awesome. I love Mean Girls. I think it is honestly I think it's getting more credit now, but I remember when it was released, a lot of people didn't like it, especially growing up in that age. Like people were like, that's a stupid movie. But the comedy really works in this, and I gotta give it to you. I don't know of top 10 villains, but hey, for a choice, my wife would approve of this choice, so I have to approve it. I think it's actually a very interesting choice. Anybody on Regina George's Mean Girls?
My number 11. This is my number 11. I really like this movie, like this character. If I was going to put a comedy movie villain on the list, this would have been who I would have put on. I really like this character. I disagree with Brooklyn's analysis of her, though. I don't think she's blunt and honest. She lies to everybody's face. She's like, there's the girl with like the bracelet, and she's like, oh, that bracelet, where'd you get it? And then it's like, that is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. I really, and it reminds me of somebody, like the type of person who would say, oh, I'm just honest, but they're just using that as an excuse to be an a-hole. I think we all know who I'm talking about here. But no, I think a great, very funny character, very funny movie. Good pick.
Yeah, great pick. Just missed mine too. Maybe like my 13 or 12 range. She's excellent. I love Mean Girls. Wednesdays we wear pink, bitches. But she's great. She when she gets hit by a bus, it might be the most satisfying thing to ever watch on film. Not gonna lie, she is the definition of the queen bee in the worst way. So yeah.
I did not leave the south side for this. Jay, what do you think?
I hated women in high school, but other than that, not a bad pick. This movie's funny. She makes a great villain, and her mom isn't like other moms. She's the cool mom.
You want me to buy you some drink? I will. So great. We'll go to your number 4.
All right. This is probably not a surprise at all. But Heath Ledger's Dark Knight.
Yikes.
Joker.
Yikes.
Okay. Does anybody have it in the top 3?
Yes.
Okay. So then we will wait for that one. Knew it was coming, but we will go to Boatman. 7 through 4.
My number 7 is. Sorry. Okay.
Good choice.
My number 7 is Annie Wilkes from Misery. Wow. Okay.
This is my number 7 as well.
Oh, okay. We can talk about
So you both can talk about it.
this person is terrifying, and I think she's going crazy. The sledgehammer scene is one of the most horrifying things to watch in a movie ever. But I find her the most terrifying when she's not crazy, when she's just a little bit off, because you don't know what she's gonna do. You don't know if she's going to be legitimately nice or if she's going to scream and yell and break your legs. That's what makes this character so great. And it takes that kind of admiration of celebrities that everybody feels, and it's that little bit there are some people in this community that are 2 steps away from being the Annie Wilkes. Let's be honest. These people who take fandom a little too seriously. And I don't mean the category. I mean take being a fan way too seriously, and you're just I don't know about you. And it's taking that and pushing it to the extreme.
She is she is the epitome of aggressive fanaticism to the psychotic extreme. And the scary part about it is this is anybody walking down the street. This is anybody who has a love for anything deep within them. This is I had a bad day. My favorite writer killed off, my favorite character, in the movie. Spoilers. I know it's 26 years old, but still, Annie Wilkes is a horrifying villain, and you're not wrong, dude. That hobbling scene fucks me up.
This choice is amazing. Honestly, if I was making my list, I'd probably include her a little higher because of the actual fear level. When he's in the wheelchair and he falls out and he knows he moved one of the he moved something
Penguin.
The penguin, and he knows she's going to notice it, and he has to struggle to put it back and get back in the bed while she's trying to get to the door. I think that's a very in film, that's a very interesting, when that's done well, the tension is no high. When somebody has to be back in the same position and somebody's entering the house and you see the jingle of the keys and everything, I literally panic insane. And that hobbling scene is. I don't think I've ever watched the hobbling scene because I think I've looked away every time I watch Misery because it is fucking brutal. But that is a fantastic choice. Well done, Boatman, on that one. Go to your 6. Oh
right.
No, do you wait? You two didn't have Annie Wilkes. Never seen it, or just not a fan.
Go ahead, Boatman. Boatman.
Yes, because I am a skinny person from Iowa. I get confused by that all the time.
You're both white. It's okay.
Ooh. No, in terms of the books, I'm a massive Stephen King fan, but I've only seen The Mist. I know this is one that I do need to see. But yeah.
Why watch The Mist? Don't watch The Mist. It's so bad.
I know The Mist is awful.
Koho.
The only scene I've actually seen is the hobbling scene. I haven't seen the rest of the movie.
Well, when was this released?
1990.
1990.
Oh,
I dunked on you. How do you feel? But
I knew it too.
Bummer. I knew it first and faster. So
well, somebody here has competed for a championship in Warzone. The other person's never been close. Okay. We'll move on. Go to your 6.
The other person lost to Harley Borch.
That person.
My number 6. Probably going to be a yikes. Hans Landa from Inglourious Bastard.
That's a yikes.
Fair. Okay.
My number 5, the movie I'm most famous for in this community.
Here it comes.
Is Harry Lime from The Third Man, baby.
Go fuck yourself.
You haven't seen the movie.
And I never will because of you.
Yeah, I don't care. This character, this movie, brilliant. The way that they build up this character, because look, if you haven't seen this movie, mute your speakers, or you probably don't care. Let's be honest, you're not going to see this movie because you're in this community and no one in this community watches movies made before 1980. So, Harry Lime is like, Harry Lime is basically believed to be dead, and he's the friend of the main character, right? And it's all this talk, and they're trying to figure out, like, who is this third man that, like, helped dispose of the body of Harry Lime, because nobody can figure it out. And then, boom, he's actually alive, and he's secretly, like, running this, like, penicillin ring where they're selling, like, fake penicillin to hospitals, and these kids are, like, dying from it. But the way that he explains himself and rationalizes his opinion in, like, the most charming way, it's kind of horrifying how he just dismisses what he's doing to all these people. And Orson Welles plays this character brilliantly.
I'll be honest. You said runs a penicillin ring, and I thought you meant like they were taking penicillin and giving it to people. I'm like, then how is he the villain?
No,
they're like allergic, but like what the hell?
He's faking, like, making this fake penicillin and selling it to the hospitals.
Then that's fair.
So no, I haven't seen it. Probably won't because of you. I guess how you described it still doesn't make it top 10 villain of all time. So that's a great.
You don't know how it's done. You can't judge that.
You described it, and you did a terrible job describing it. So I have to take it off your words, and you suck. Anybody else here seen The Third Man?
No, I just take umbrage with Boatman saying I haven't seen a movie before 1980. Which I
You
12 Angry Men.
You have seen Mr. Smith Goes to Washington and 12 Angry Men, and I respect that. Most of the people in this community have not seen movies.
I'm waiting for the
favorite comedy of Airplane was released in 1980. Yeah.
I'm waiting for the day where the community turns on Boatman and goes, "You pretentious dick! Let's get rid of you for roasting us every day and calling us shit."
Hey, we know where you can go if you do. I think there's a cornhole tournament. Okay. Fuck it. He doesn't watch it anyways, and if he does, who gives a fuck at this point?
I hear it's better if you play from your knees.
That's what you tried to do for months and couldn't get back in. Okay, let's go to your number 4.
My number 4 is the Joker from The Dark Knight.
Still a yikes.
Still a yikes.
My number 4.
We know. We've been through your list, you jackass. Welcome to the Jay Birds. Give us your 7.
Okay.
Give us your 6.
6 is John Doe from 7. My number 5 is Scar from Der Lion King.
Whoa.
Oh, you want me to talk about it? You want me to
talk about 6,
okay.
and then we'll get all your inputs. Yeah.
So John Doe from 7 is like Annie Wilkes, just a normal person, maybe a little bit more on the psychotic side. Not necessarily a fan of anything but like ultra religious type deaths. And the fact that he's able to manipulate all of the shit around him in order to come to the ending of this movie and to get Brad Pitt to ultimately turn him into a martyr at the end of the movie really kind of fucking freaks me out. That people are willing to go to this length, regardless of whether, they're going to make it out or not. He had an agenda. He did what he wanted to do. And, even if it meant his death, he's still one of the most scary fucking regular ass villains from the 90s.
What's in the box? What's in the box? I hate Brad Pitt in this movie. I honestly hate Brad Pitt in this movie. I think he's really bad in acting in this movie. But the overall movie I really like. And I think John Doe is it's kind of hard at this point because I think most people don't include it because of who played him. Christopher Plummer played him, and he did a fantastic job. It's just rough on that end, but I agree with you. I think of that movie, of a villain, sure. I think it plays most of this behind the scenes, so maybe that's why it wasn't included, but I'm curious to get everybody's thoughts. The two Calebs in Brooklyn, let me know.
I haven't seen it.
This is a great villain, great character. I think the moment in which, they've been looking for John Doe the whole movie, and then he comes in and he's just like they were looking for him, and he just shows up. He shows up in the movie and just goes, "Detective," and that's a great moment. And yeah, I think great movie, great character. Didn't make my list, but it was close.
Haven't seen it, but it's on my list.
Shocker. We'll see who has the most of those by the end of the night. Go to your number 5. Are you muted?
Mike is not picking up.
All right. Sorry about that. I was muted. Shocker. Y'all got a little peek behind the curtain. My number 5 is Scar from
Yikes.
Light. All right. That's fine with me. My number 4 is Hannibal Lecter. I didn't mean just from Silence of the Lambs, but yeah, Hannibal Lecter is my number 4.
Anybody?
Wow. Fair enough. This is one of the most, obviously there's a little bit of a trend on my list. This man isn't necessarily psychotic. He is not like suffering from super sanity, but he is just crazy enough to work both sides. He is the villain who is helping out the good guys, but is still ultimately a villain. And when he fucking eats Ray Liotta's brain, it's one of the creepiest fucking things on the face of the planet. Just the way that he is able to break down anything that is possible from a standpoint really shows you the power of an intellectual villain. And I think that's one of the reasons why I ended up choosing Hannibal Lecter as my number 4.
Yeah. The hard part about this is because I find him so fascinating that it's hard. Like, I know he's a villain. I know he does awful things. I know he's a terrible monster, but like, I think his performance is so good that it just like encapsulates. It's kind of like a Breaking Bad for me. Like, I know Walter White's a piece of shit, but I want Walter White to be in everything. So it's kind of like that with Hannibal Lecter. I think it's an amazing movie. I think it's amazing. I think he's amazing in every performance he's ever done as Hannibal. So I have no problem with those. I can understand why it made the list. It wouldn't make mine just because of that fact for me. But Brooklyn and Koho and Boatman told me what you're thinking about Hannibal Lecter.
Well, I haven't seen Hannibal or Red Dragon. I've only seen Silence of the Lambs. And I think in Silence of the Lambs, we know he's not going to kill Clarice. He said, "I'm not going to kill Clarice." He's helping Clarice. So ultimately, because we know our protagonist is safe from Hannibal, he's not really that scary. He's not really the central antagonist. Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs is the central antagonist.
He's also the more boring character. That's why I didn't choose him.
He is the more boring character, but I think in that movie he's not really Hannibal Lecter is not the antagonist. He's more of a side character.
Again, I chose Hannibal Lecter. Koho's the one who put Silence of the Lambs down there. I just meant him in general. And still, granted, even though he's only on screen for 15 minutes, he is still one of the most terrifying portions of that film, regardless of whether he's a villain who sticks to his morals. If he says he's not going to kill Clarice, he's not going to kill Clarice. He's going to help her. That doesn't not make him a villain, though.
If you can do the line, that's frightening enough. Koho.
I have not seen any of the movies starring Hannibal Lecter for personal reasons. So I will say I haven't seen it. Move along.
Okay. Brooklyn.
I am a scared little bitch. I do not watch a whole lot of horror movies. So to the surprise of nobody, I have not seen any of the Hannibal Lecter films.
Honestly, not terrifying movies. More psychological than anything. But yes, I get it. I'm a scared bitch when it comes to it, but I would definitely say if you want to watch fantastic acting, that Silence of the Lambs is one to go with. We are going to go, that was Jay, we're going Koho.
So my number 7 is gonna get Yikes. Towns Londa from Glorious Bastards.
That's a yikes hard pass.
Yikes.
Okay, cool. My number 6 is a villain that none of y'all thought about, and it pisses me off. It's Terrence Fletcher from Whiplash.
Yikes.
Yes, Brooklyn. Oh my god, no fucking way. My next one is a villain, and I'm going to defend this till the day I die. Jenny Curran from Forrest Gump.
Cody Newberry. Jesus
The woman rapes Forrest Gump, leaves him with a child, dies, romantically, emotionally manipulates and abuses him throughout his life, and then comes back into his life, and then leaves him with a kid. And she's the worst to Forrest. The entire movie. There is no villain in this movie besides Jenny. No one. There's no villain. It is Jenny. It is Jenny from Forrest Gump, and she is horrible to that poor, poor man. She is the fifth person all the time.
The opinions and views expressed by Kaleb Koho do not represent the views expressed by Multiplex Entertainment and its affiliates. Jesus Christ, man.
I agree with you more. I've been on this hill. I think I'm the first one in this community to bring this up. She is the worst. She ruins Forrest. Forrest, all he wants to do is love her, and he follows around her this entire time, just trying. And then when she's at her most vulnerable, she comes back, dies, and drops off a kid. All on that note. He just wanted to love her, respect her. He now probably has chronic hip and knee and ankle pain because he literally ran for 3 years. So this is a bunch of bullshit. Jenny is an awful human being. I don't believe she raped him because, like, he is literally not saying no. But he didn't say no. And so that's my viewpoint. I agree. I honestly believe Jenny from Forrest Gump needs to be higher. Because she is a harlot and she is terrible to him and ruins his entire life. But I think that was a pick for Koho to make sure he didn't end up in last, but I respect the choice in itself. Everybody else on Jenny?
Everybody else go first.
All right, so I literally had this conversation with a group of my friends when I showed them my list, and they called you out on this. They're like, Koho and Cody are going to fucking just fawn over Jenny. This is what I said. She's told him no. She's told him to get the fuck away. It stops becoming this cute little infatuation and goes to the level of cringe when Forrest Gump won't pick up that hint. At that point in time, you really have to... Is she a terrible human being? Yes, I will give you that. But she's already rejected him. And the fact that he keeps coming after, that's cringe as fuck, bro.
He leaves. He literally goes to Vietnam, ping pong, runs. All these things. She shows back up at his fucking doorstep dying of AIDS and needs somebody to take care of old Forrest Jr. So, he left. He fought in war. He got shot in the buttocks. He drank 15 Dr. Peppers. He became a ping pong champion. He invested in Apple and is a fucking rich man. And now Jenny's like, hey, I need a sugar daddy. Come on back, Forrest. Bitch.
No, I'm sorry. Jenny's a piece of shit human. That doesn't make her a villain.
She's a villain. She's
a villain.
No,
there is no villain in Forrest Gump other than
she is worse than the Viet Cong in Vietnam.
In that movie,
she is worse than the Viet Cong in Vietnam.
Okay. Let's clear the area for 2 seconds. One, Jenny is not a villain. She's not actively looking to worsen Forrest's life or whatever. I've said this before in a movie battleground match, the one I had actually against Cody. Jenny is an obstacle. Jenny is a hurdle because without her dumb shit that she does, like she's just going through life, she just makes bad and awful choices. But without that, it's literally Forrest plays football, Forrest goes to war, Forrest plays ping pong, Forrest goes for a run. It's essentially like a compilation of Ernest movies. You just need an obstacle to make things interesting.
But villains are the hurdles of movies. What the fuck are you talking about? The villain is the obstacle of the damn movie.
But she's not looking to make Forrest's life worse.
She just makes the fuck off when he goes to Vietnam.
She shows up all the fucking time to ruin him. To bring him back into
that. He pursues that. His infatuation with Jenny is the villain in that movie.
If he didn't show up and punch the army guy in the face, or the guy that's protesting with her, he would be she would be in an abusive relationship and killed. But he tells her to get her ass back to Greenbow, Alabama.
Okay.
Boatman, go ahead. You stormed
He's
off.
always looking out for her best interest, and all she does is break his heart because she doesn't care about him and she hates him.
She's dumb. That doesn't make her a villain. She's just dumb.
No, her actions actively hurt Forrest Gump throughout the entire movie on purpose, deliberately.
Chronic hip,
not
knee,
true.
and ankle pain.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
When's the last time you watched Forrest Gump? Because I watched it a week ago for this damn thing.
You didn't watch it a week ago for this damn thing. You watched it because you were like, I'm going to put Jenny on here because you know he's going to be like,
I watched it because Jenny was on my list, and I was like, I'm going to make sure she belongs on this list. And she went to fucking number 5, bro.
She doesn't belong on this list, I'm telling you.
Yes, she does.
Koho didn't want to be in the cornhole, so he put it on here. Put it on here to get some love.
I've never agreed with somebody more on the show, and I'm glad that you stand by me. Go ahead, Boatman.
Okay. Koho, you know exactly what you're doing here. You know exactly what you're doing. You know that you have the worst list of all time put in head and Jenny and whatever, and you just you want Cody's attention. You want Cody's attention, so you're putting something that he will like because Cody at least has an original opinion. You don't have an original opinion in your head, except unless it is Cars 3 is the greatest film of all time. That is your only original opinion that you have. Jenny from Forrest Gump, okay, sure, she's not the greatest person. Nobody is. She was abused as a child. You go through that and you see what is going on. Jenny from Forrest Gump is at least she has a drug addiction. She's going through all these things. You can't Koho. What is wrong?
You broke little boat.
You have Judge Claude Frollo and probably no other animated villain because you're a bitch.
A legitimate villain who is has complex motives. You're just like, I'm gonna be funny and put Jenny from Forrest Gump on the list.
I'm gonna be edgy and put the guy from Hunchback, the 18th best Disney movie of all time, because I'm hipster and I don't know what a good movie is if it wasn't made before 1980. You little bitch.
I have Hans Landa.
The guy who cried about not putting Magneto on a list.
Magneto's
okay.
Great.
This is probably the most heated and favorite part of the show I've ever. Again, I will not say that Koho's ever swayed me. I think I've had this opinion from the start. I agree. I stand by what I say about Jenny. This is literally what I feel. I've felt it for a long time. She's the worst part of Forrest Gump. But we'll move on. Give us your 4.
My number 4, I think, is the better Tarantino villain. It's Calvin Candy from Django Unchained. I think Hans Landa is incredible, and we'll talk about him in a minute. But Calvin Candy, I think, is the one that I'm more scared of. I think Calvin Candy is a better written villain. I think he's intimidating. He's a despicable human, and especially once you see how freaking crazy this guy is. There's just something wrong with him that he wants to have his slaves fight each other. And he manipulates his slaves. He's coming back to Candyland. There's a slave sitting out by the tree, and he's like, "Why are you trying to run away?" And he's all friendly with him. And then he sicks the dogs to eat him alive. And then he's about to sell Django's wife to them, and then he finds out that she's the purpose of them coming here. He freaking breaks a glass in his hand and just keeps going. That's more a testament to Leo's performance, but it also enhances that character because it just shows how just insane he is. Once he figures out their purpose, he goes into this one track just mind state. His eyes change. It's something about him. And then at the very end, when he gets his way, he's just like, "Pleasure doing business with you. We have to shake hands or else it's not final." And that's he's incredibly terrifying and just the most despicable villain in any Tarantino movie.
I love the choice of Calvin Candy. It's a little high probably, but I think his overall performance is really good. especially how despicable he is. Like when Django stands up to him about the dog fight, like when he shakes the dogs, he's like, he's tired of effing with him, pretty much. Like he just wants you to do something. If you're going to do it, do it. And then he literally releases, and you see like the dogs run in Django's eyes, and it's so freaky. And then that scene when he like, put your hands on the table. If I see a move, I will bash you in the back of the head. Like it's an insane scene. I think the character is elevated to a new heights with Leo. I don't think anybody else could have really pulled that performance off as well as him. So I actually like the choice. Again, I think it's a little high. I think maybe the 6 to 7 range would have been fine with Calvin Candy because he's a minor part in that movie. He's there, but he doesn't show up for a while. But yeah, anybody else on Calvin Candy?
Calvin Candy was on my list, and then I remembered Regina George, so that's why he was in the 10th spot, and then I'm like, oh yeah, Regina George has to be on this list, so he's like 11.
I think it's a good pick, actually. Didn't make my list, but I think it's a good pick.
They're back to talking. It's good times. Jay.
Oh, I'm not touching this one with a 10-foot pole, dog.
You don't like Calvin Candy?
Oh no, it's not that I don't like Calvin Candy. I wouldn't put him at number 4. I would have put him higher, or not higher. I would have put him lower on my list. But I'm not going to try to attack this because that's going to make me take a stance that's against my own personal opinions. And so strategic move picking Calvin Candy because you can't really tear him down without making racism sound good.
Fair. Okay. We're going to everybody's 3 now, so we're going to start with Brooklyn.
All right. So my number 3 was a yikes from earlier, and that's Terrence Fletcher from Whiplash.
Brooklyn, I have never been so happy to be on a list with you before in my life.
I've worked with a handful of Terrence Fletchers, not as hyperbolic, but they have the same sort of character traits, and they get it right. Where it's just sort of like when the whole not my type of thing or whatever. You see him like he's patient at first, but when he doesn't get it after the 15th, 16th try, and then it's like throws the chair, and then that's when you see J.K. Simmons do acting gold. More so, or yeah, probably the most deserving supporting actor Oscar win. But I'm probably going to be corrected by Kaleb. But yeah, I love the range that J.K. Simmons displays, and like one of the quotes that I take back from the film is one that I take back from like those same people that I've worked with. Is that the worst thing that you can ever say to somebody is "good job," and it's like that makes sense.
Yeah. Terrence Fletcher is one of the scariest sort of manipulative people I've seen in a movie, maybe ever. The way that he plays Miles Teller, like when he walks in, he's like, he sees him drawing, he sees talent in him, and then he's like, did I tell you to stop playing? And he starts playing, he goes, did I tell you to start playing? And just the way that he like messes with them. And then outside the classroom when he's like just nice to him, and he's just like, so what's the history with your mom and your dad, whatever, and learns about him. And then in the classroom uses that against him, where he's like, you're just the son of a guy who couldn't cut it as a writer, and now he has to teach high school English, and like throws it in his face. And then all the way through until Miles Teller like does what he does with Terrence Fletcher, and at the end, and then culminates to the end when he basically Terrence Fletcher strikes back there, where he's like, fucking no, it was you. You think I'm stupid? And I was like, that moment is terrifying, and then it leads to probably the most triumphant ending of a movie maybe ever. I love Whiplash, and I think Terrence Fletcher is incredible.
Yeah, this movie is one that I didn't think I would like. To be honest, because I don't like music. I honestly don't like band type things. I don't like marching band. I don't like jazz band. I don't like those things. They don't appeal to me. They're not interesting to me. I think it's talent, but I didn't. When I heard the story, I was like, okay, so this is you're going to try to sell me for 2 hours of fucking jazz band. I don't really care. It does sound like somebody's playing a video game in the background. And it's Boatman. But when you see him yell at the first, I think he gets this on this thing from the scene. I think it's one scene alone. I think he's villainous throughout the entire movie. Don't get me wrong, but that scene is it. The scene, if you put J.K. Simmons acting into a time capsule, It is literally it. The rushing this. Are you rushing or dragging?
Are you rushing or are you dragging? So
then he
you don't know the difference.
So then he slaps him and he's like, "You will not fuck up my band," pretty much. I don't know the exact quote, but that is an insane scene. I think this is I saw J.K. Simmons in Oz before this, and this is his performance in Oz on HBO special when he's in. It's a movie, show about prison. He is literally the same character. He plays this really well. So I give him a full credit. He deserved the Oscar. It was one of my favorite movies of that year. So I give you, hell yeah. I know why Boatman didn't have it on his list. I made an executive decision because there was some foul play behind the scenes. He was going to put him on, but you're not supposed to share a list with people until showtime. He shared his list, so I refused to let him put this character on because he changed it just because he didn't think about it. But we know how you feel, so I'll let you talk about it, Boatman.
Yeah, well, I do think 3 is a little high because I think he kind of stops being the villain at the end of the movie. Like, he's still, like, the force, but, like, the very end, like, they kind of have this resolution, so I don't think he's, like, at the end as much as, like, an antagonistic force. Still deserves to be on the list, obviously, and I think J.K. Simmons is amazing. I think that good job speech is great. I think they kind of said everything that can be said about this character.
Jay.
J.K. Simmons sounds like Bobby Knight in this movie. I haven't seen it all the way through, so I got my mind a little clouded one night and watched about 2/3 of it and then passed out and never went back to it. I love J.K. Simmons, though.
I'm trying to understand the clouded reference, but I think I got it. Okay, we will go to Boatman's 3.
My number 3 is me being my hipster self. I put Norman Bates from Psycho. The original 1960, not Vince Vaughn.
Okay.
Yeah. So Norman Bates, I think this is like a really tragic character because you can tell that like Norma is like the evil force that resides in him. He's just a little off, and you get that great scene with him and Janet Leigh, and they're just talking about how there are different kinds of cages, and some people build cages themselves and they don't want to leave them, and you just kind of get this incredible psyche into the character, and it's fascinating. And then you get the ending when Norma has completely taken over, and she's just rationalizing, and she's just like, I'll just be still and I won't even hurt this fly. And they'll say, oh, she won't even hurt a fly. And you just get the insanity. It's an amazing performance from Anthony Perkins, and it's a fantastically psychologically interesting villain.
Said it before, I'll say it again. Not a fan of Hitchcock. Just not a fan. It's not my kind of movies. I don't like horror in general. I don't like that kind of thing. I feel like it was I tried to watch it. I just couldn't get through it. I get what it did. I get behind it. I understand why people are Hitchcock fans. I completely understand it. It's just not for me. I don't think it ever will be. I've watched a couple of his films. I just don't like it. I actually like a film, I think, of his life. I don't know who played it, but I literally watched a movie with somebody portraying him, Hitchcock. I found that more fascinating.
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins is Hitchcock. Yes, I watched that one. I find that more fascinating than any Hitchcock movie. So I'll like the man. I don't like the movie. But this is very on brand. I wouldn't have it any other way with you. Anybody else on Norman Bates? No one else had it.
He's a prototype of James McAvoy in Split. That's what I'm picking up from this. So yeah.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Bowman had no reaction. I think he's playing Gallagher.
That man is playing Gallagher. Thought we wouldn't notice. Thought we wouldn't notice.
Brooklyn, you've never seen it, right?
No, it's a movie before 1980, so obviously I haven't seen it.
And Koho.
I've seen it once and I didn't care for it.
Fair. Do we all believe that? I don't know. We're going to go to Jay. 3.
Oh, my number 3 is Joker. Heath Ledger.
Is that Koho's 3?
That would still be a yikes from me.
That's yikes. Okay. Wow.
Do you have that higher?
That's
Slightly higher.
Okay. Sorry. I mistook your list. That's fine. All right. We're going to go to co-host 3.
Mine is the Yikes from Brooklyn earlier. It's Scar from The Lion King. When you, or not you, from Jay. Sorry, that's my bad. I forgot. You're the guy who was like, only Syndrome can be on an animated villains list, you butts. Okay. So when it comes to animated villains, it's not my criteria, but what always helped me when I was like, what animated villains do I want to put on this list? Headless Horseman was completely personal. But when I went through, I was like, well, you got Jafar, and you've got Ursula. I don't even like Little Mermaid, but Ursula's great. You've got a handful of great Disney villains. And I think one of the tests for me is if you can twist their story around the other way, and if they make sense, like, then they are not completely terrible. Like, there's at least something redeeming about that villain that you can make that work in like a story with another hero. You can't do that with Scar. There's literally no way to make Scar the good guy of his story. And that's what makes Scar 10 times better as a villain for me. I killed Mufasa and everything through. I think Jeremy Irons crushes in this performance. I think when it comes to Scar and the Lion King, he's the best Disney villain. It's a tight race. I think Jafar is really good too, but I think ultimately Scar won out for me because of Iron's performance and because when you look at his plan, he killed the king, tried to kill the prince, and overthrow and take over the kingdom, and then you see him in the role that he wanted, and he's not really good at it. And that makes it worse and more depressing that he did something so permanent for something that he's not good at. So like when Simba finally comes back, it's like this triumphant moment of like finally, and like just down to how manipulative he is, where he makes Simba think it's his fault, how he manipulates Mufasa to be in that place at that time and get him killed. It's just he's the best Disney villain in my opinion, and it's just yeah. I could go on and on about Jeremy Irons, so I'll stop there.
Jake, you had Scar.
I did have Scar. I had Scar at number 5 because I think that's where he belongs. He deserves to be the number 1 villain of all time, at least for Disney. But he's Claudius from Hamlet. Lion King is Hamlet through and through. It's
Best
the French
version.
King of Denmark. Yo holler. I still don't think that it deserves to be number 3. That's why I put it at number 5. But yeah.
Gosh, could you make your list suck even more? No, I'm just kidding. I
knew it was going to be a hot take.
I'm on brand for this one. This is literally the best villain. Again, I'm very biased. It's my favorite movie of all time. You can't say much about what Scar is. I still think Scar, Lion King is so good for me for the amount of runtime and the amount of villain that you pile into that amount of runtime. Literally, he, from the first, like, what is he, sick? No, fool, we're going to kill him. And Simba, too. Like, it's just like, and then sings and, like, dances around like he's excited to kill his brother and his freaking, nephew. That's terrifying. And then that scene, my favorite scene in the entire movie is when Simba comes back to Pride Rock. Simba's standing there. He was just like, tell him what you did. If it wasn't for you, Mufasa would still be alive. And he takes him down. Murderer. And like puts him on the edge, and then he finally looks. He goes, "Oh, I remember. It's the same way Mufasa died," and it sends a chill down my spine every time because it's such. Because he doesn't learn from his mistakes. He knows he can turn around. He can get somebody to redeem himself, but still be that character. But he still takes the opportunity to try to kill Simba at that moment. And then when you think he's at his lowest of lows, he still sells the one people down the hill to try to save himself. And they eat him, which is one of the most brutal deaths of any character. I think it's Clayton getting hung in Tarzan and
Scar being eaten alive by hyenas.
Getting eaten by hyenas. It's literally brutal. I think it's the correct choice. I would put it probably for me, if I was being 100% honest with myself, it would be to the 3 to 5 range because if I'm trying to be as not on brand. But if I was putting it, would be my number 1. But Scar is amazing. Boatman, Brooklyn, no Scar. Why do you hate me? Obviously.
All right. So a lot of the reasons Koho talked about is part of why Scar didn't make my list. Like the fact that there is no way, there's nothing redeeming about him. There's nothing like Scar is a villain who knows he is a villain, and that's about it. Like he's a really good like portrayal of pure evil, and I respect that. But I think somebody like Frollo is a bad guy who rationalizes everything he does to say that it's for the good when it clearly isn't. And I just think that's more interesting, a villain who believes that they are doing the right thing.
I just wanted to limit my list to one animated villain because I didn't want to because I knew if I didn't have that rule, there would have probably been like 4 or 5, and then like, oh, you're a Disney / Pixar shill. So it was like, no, I want to make sure that there's as much live action on here as I can. He'd probably be like number 2 in terms of, actually probably number 3 in terms of animated villains. There's one in between. If we get to honorable mentions, but yeah.
Fucking yikes! But yeah, we do all know that Lion King is the best Disney animation film of all time by Multiplex Entertainment. So just to let you know, we'll go to Brooklyn's 2.
So my number 2 is a yikes. Oh no, Koho, isn't it?
Koho just went.
I just went. I'm pointing at Brooklyn.
Oh, I thought you were pointing at you. Anyways,
no, I was disoriented, so I'm trying to point where you are on my camera.
He's drunk.
Do you full feel us from the back talkwards? My number 2 is a yikes from earlier. Hans Landa from Inglourious Basterds.
Anybody else got a higher?
Still a yikes.
Still a yikes.
Still a yikes.
Okay, well, we know where this resides. Let's go to Boatman.
My number 2 is Nurse Ratched from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Good pick.
On brand. Go ahead.
Very on brand pick, as usual. No, this person's horrifying. She is evil, and she's not like these grand evil gestures. It's these little things that she takes control of, like the baseball game, like just saying that they can't do that, and just the little bureaucratic ways she controls these people is amazing. The scene when Brad Dourif's character is like about to leave, and he kind of manipulates him into feeling bad about it, and all these other things. It's like she is so despicable. She's horrible. It's a fantastic film, fantastic villain. Yeah.
When I put top 5 in my head, Nurse Ratched was in it. Nurse Ratched is, like you said, despicable. I don't find really any redeeming quality in her. Never in my life. In movies, every time, once in a while, like if I never want anything bad to happen to people. But Nurse Ratched needs to be hit by like 12 buses. She is an awful human being. She's just terrible. She would have made my list. She would have made my list in the top 5. 2 is perfect spot, honestly. I love that movie. I don't think enough people have seen that movie. I had to watch it in psychology class in high school, and I'm so glad I did. It's a reason why that movie won the Big 5, I think, right?
All
Is that
5.
right?
All 5 of the Big 5.
All the Big 5? Because it's deserving of it. It's such a good movie, and she's just awful. Like, and she still stands the test of time by being so subtle too. It's not like these big, massive things. She's just awful, and she doesn't care. Like, she has no remorse at all, ever. So, good choice, Boatman. It kind of saved your list at this point. Anybody else on Nurse Ratched? Have you not seen it?
I just totally forgot about Nurse Ratched.
I knew this one, and I would actually be willing to wager money that there's another one that I knew were going to be notable admissions. I just haven't seen the movie.
Fair
enough.
Jay?
No, good pick.
It's released in the 70s. Did you see it?
Yeah. I watch movies. Okay,
I'm just asking.
Movies.
Bowman passed that judgment on everybody. I'm just filling it out, just making sure.
I've seen the movie. She is creepy. She really just didn't cross my mind as like she's a moderately memorable villain, but I think there are better villains that could have made the list. She probably would have been an honorable mention had I remembered her.
That's fair. Let's go to Jay. Your 2.
My Yeah, my 2, because I don't think we talked about my 3. We didn't talk about Joker.
Yeah,
right?
it's your 3.
Okay. My 2 is HAL 9000 from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
That came out in the 60s, right?
68.
Hey, Jake pass.
That's what we call a backtrack because Boatman's wrong.
No, I wanted to choose a super intelligence, and I didn't want to choose a super intelligence like a Terminator. You know, I wanted something that came out a little bit before that and kind of created the whole maniacal computer, the computer going wild, essentially. He is the creepiest thing about that movie, regardless of the first 12 minutes of whether or not you hear speech at all. He is the most villainous computer ever, and it really kind of spawned that whole, hey, let's make the computer the bad guy. I'm not going to open the, not opening the pod bay doors, and the shutdown sequence, the end of this villain, is probably one of my favorite villain, quote unquote, deaths of all time.
This is probably one of my biggest, I would say, blind spots. I've never seen it. I've heard a lot about it. I almost know the story without seeing the movie up to this point, with as many trivia questions and as much people have talked about and have ranted about in sci-fi movies. So it's kind of like, why watch it at this point? I know I probably won't like it. I'm not a huge classics like fan. I know I get
3.5 hours long, dude.
Yeah, and it's I'm trying to be better at that, but I like just being a shill that don't like old shit. There's some that I really like 12 Angry Men is one of my favorite movies. It's just I don't think this genre is like my cup of tea as much as most people. Kubrick's HAL 9000. I'm surprised Boatman didn't have it because it like fits everything that I need. Like needs to be on a Boatman list almost. It's got to be old. It's got to be not human, boring. So tell me, Boatman, why do you decide to turn off your shill hat on this one?
All my lists, all my characters on this list are actually humans because I don't find like the AI villains as interesting. I find human villains scarier because it's like that could be anybody. That could be anybody on the street. Whereas like HAL 9000, it's not like, it's clearly fantasy. Which like I get it and I respect it. It's a good pick, just doesn't resonate with me personally.
Brooklyn? Never seen it.
Just copy and paste what I said for the last one.
And Koho.
I have never seen 2001: Space Odyssey.
Well, it's after the 80s. We know that.
Before.
We have to say it. Before the 80s. Sorry, that's if you're wrong. Oh, you're right. Okay. Now we finally get to talk about the one that's featured on everybody's list. Go for it, Koho.
Joker,
Take it away.
When I wrote my list, this person and my number one were the first 2 names I wrote down. I think they concurrently are 2 of the greatest villains of all time, but specifically on the Joker. I think Heath Ledger's performance changed the way we view the Joker pretty much forever. I think he did something really different. He really embraced the anarchist and the schemer within the Joker. And the thing is, everything the Joker says in this movie is full of bullshit. He says whatever he needs to in the situation, but the thing is, you believe and hang on every word he says in The Dark Knight as being fact. He's like, you see, they're schemers. Do I look like a guy with a plan? But the entire movie, he has a plan. He literally has a plan the entire movie. He is the schemer the entire movie. Look at the bank heist at the beginning. That's a very meticulously crafted job. If he was a guy without a plan, they would have went in and shot up the place willy-nilly to get the money. And that's what makes the Joker so scary. Is not only is he unpredictable, he's untrustworthy, and it's just the Joker all the way through and through. A perfect embodiment of anarchism and of just human terrorism in one person. It's terrifying, and I think the Joker is excellent. This is the best version of the Joker to me.
Who else had it? Jay had the next highest. Go ahead.
Mark Hamill is the greatest Joker of all time. Fight me. I really enjoy the Joker. He is just a regular guy with a little bit of specialty training. Anybody can have that, which means that anybody could ultimately become this person with, a bad enough day. he is the ultimate schemer. He does have a plan, like Koho said. And with the exception of like HAL 9000, a majority of my list has been all human and not superpowered. I think that he encapsulates the terror of insanity in this movie incredibly well, and that's why he was as high as he was on my list.
Brooklyn or Boatman, whoever.
He was number 4 for me. It's weird because it's like he's supposed. I believe that he's supposed to be sort of like a younger version. Like he isn't like full crazy, but it's definitely a character that has experience and has been around some stuff. Because the way they get him throughout the movie, it's almost like he's sort of frustrated. Like there's a couple times in the movie where he's just like, this is ridiculous. Like let me just do it myself. Like the whole like whenever he kills the guy with the pencil on top of his head, that's just. The tone that you get from him, and then the scene in the hospital where it's him and Two-Face, and Two-Face has the gun to his head. That's the sort of Joker calling him out on this bullshit. It's like come on, like I know you're not going to kill me, but like let's just pretend you are. So just do it. Like just think that you're going to kill me, but you're not going to because you don't have the balls to pull the trigger.
This is one of the greatest performances of all time. One of the greatest comic book villains of all time. He is terrifying. That scene where he first enters the Wayne, I think it's Wayne Manor actually, in
Penitentiary or Penthouse.
Yeah. Oh yeah, wherever it is. Michael Caine's there, and he was supposed to have a line. Michael Caine was supposed to have a line, but he was so startled by Heath Ledger that he didn't, and Heath Ledger just kept going. There are so many little things in that performance, and just that character. He's unbalanced, but he has everything planned out at the same time. Like, he has nothing planned and everything planned, and that's what's so brilliant about it. The scene with the 2 boats, that's fantastic. He's not in that movie very much, but he steals every scene he's in.
So when I came up with this concept, I knew this was going to be... I'm kind of proud of everyone for not putting it at number 1. I figured that would be a consensus, maybe. But I absolutely love this performance. Mark Hamill is a Joker. I can understand what people... But this is a character that literally blew me away. I've always loved superhero movies, but this one was the one that made me, like, appreciate it, like, from fun, turn your brain off popcorn movie to, like, art, honestly. From the pencil trick, especially when he's like when the bus is in the thing and he's like, well, you're just gonna kill me. No, I'm supposed to kill the bus driver. And you hear that voice for the first time and you're like, fuck. And when him and Bruce Wayne are in that interrogation room and he smashes his head on the thing and it says, you shouldn't do that. Everything gets all fuzzy and like sends him in the opposite direction, even though he wasn't supposed to, wasn't not. It's just brilliant. Yeah, so Joker is a clear cut. I believe that he has made this character almost impossible to play at this point, just because of what everybody feels about him at this character. And can somebody do it justice? I don't know. I think if somebody has the acting ability, could, but without doing a copy, it's going to be hard. Okay, we finally are now to 1s, I believe. Yes, we're into 1s. Brooklyn, give us your number 1.
I know this is on nobody's list because I'm probably like the low representation of why this film is great. And that is Colonel Nathan Jessup from A Few Good Men. He has one of the greatest monologues ever. Like the whole reason why he ordered the Code Red is great, and you sort of see that progression. I almost consider him almost like a cooler cousin of Calvin Candy, but not as violent. Where it's just like, you know, like whenever they're in Guantanamo, like he talks like they're talking about what happened and stuff, and he's very proper, and he's like not proper, but he's trying to present himself like professionally, and you know, trying to hide everything as well. And then you see like whenever Tom Cruise is interrogating him, like, did you order the Code Red? And then he sees like, all right, this is all the anger that I've had built up from these lawyers trying to figure out what's actually happening. Now I'm going to take that all into this one speech. And I think that's incredible, just the way that he's able to sort of like turn on a dime and really accentuate that scene.
This is tough. I feel like this is number one because you wanted to talk about A Few Good Men, because it's your favorite movie.
Partially.
But I love Colonel Jessup. I think that his performance in this is brilliant. I have said on record before that I think this is a scene movie. I don't know if this is a strong overall movie because I honestly love that one scene so much. The rest of the movie, I'm just waiting for that scene to come in when I rewatch it. But I think he does an amazing job with it. I think what makes it, I don't know if he's a villain because he's a villain, sure, but like what. In his heart of hearts, he thinks he did correct what he was supposed to do. He believes that if he would have kept this person alive, he would have lost lives, and he saved lives. So in his views, he believes that he did the right thing, which could be considered a villainous move. But in the military, it is what it is. I just love that entire I just wish you'd say thank you. Like just basically just stuff.
Who's going to protect you? You Lieutenant Caffey? You, Lieutenant Weinberg?
Yeah, I just wish you'd say thank you. Otherwise, get out of my way. Like, it's just basically, he knows what he's doing, and you can just go fuck yourselves, basically. So I absolutely like the choice. Number one's way too high for Jessup. I believe it's bottom tier. But for where you sit on the movie, I get it. I think it hurts your list a little bit because it's a little too high. But I can respect the choice because of who you are as a person. Everybody on Colonel Jessup.
I've never seen it.
Great character. Didn't make my list, but amazing performance. I love this movie. I think this is more than a one-scene movie. I think a lot of this stuff really works, but that is like the peak scene, and Nicholson's performance is brilliant.
I have not seen this movie, but I swear to God, it's queued up downstairs for me to watch today. So I thought that was funny that this just happened.
It's on my Voodoo. Go watch it.
I know it is.
Jake.
One of my favorite movie dialogues of all time. I agree with you. It's way too high. Probably would have been an honorable mention for me, but this isn't even like my favorite villainous Jack Nicholson performance. So,
did you order the code red?
I did not.
You're goddamn right. I did. Okay.
Not in this hour.
Boatman, tell us why some 1930s movie is the best villain of all time.
Here it comes.
I went off-brand. And Koho, you already know what it is. Don't act like you don't know what my number one is. I went a little off-brand, and my number one is a movie from 2007. It is Koho. You know what it is. Stop looking surprised.
Boatman, there's an air to surprise here. I have to pretend for your fucking one. You don't have to pull the curtain back on the wizard. This is why you suck when I'm on here. Your list sucks. Your list sucks, sir.
Koho, you know it's Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. Okay?
Thank you.
No, this character terrifying. But what's really terrifying is he is pure evil, but there's a sense that he doesn't enjoy what he's doing. He just feels like he has to. That is what's horrifying, is he doesn't want to do it, but he's doing it anyway because he has this like cosmic responsibility. That's horrifying. The coin toss scene, brilliant. Both coin tosses, really. And it's just an amazing, astounding movie. Javier Bardem's performance in this is amazing. It's just, he won the Oscar for it, and deservedly so.
And it's also Koho's number one.
It would also be my number one. Anton Chigurh, I think, is the greatest movie villain of all time because he's not a human. This is where I think your list is wrong. You do not have all humans on your list. Anton Chigurh is a force of pure evil. He is not man. He is evil incarnate. I go place to place. I am the unstoppable force that comes through and just kills. And it's terrifying. The moment that we start this movie, you are rooting for Llewellyn Moss to survive this. But you know somewhere in your heart and in your head, he's not going to. He is basically being chased by the angel of death the entire movie through the end. And if he is going to be the one exception of the person that survives Anton Chigurh, not based on a coin flip, but based on Shigur's coming to kill you and somehow you survive, then it's a miracle. This man is insane. Every time that they encounter each other, it's terrifying. You're on the edge of your seat. Like you said, the coin toss scene, the scene where he and Woody Harrelson are sitting in the hotel room, and he just sits there and then just shoots without no comment while answering the phone. Incredible. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's my favorite Coen brother movie of all time, and this is my favorite movie villain of all time.
Yeah, I knew this was going to be the number one on two people's list. I like the character. I like the movie. I think the movie is good. I think the movie is very, very tense. I think Javier Bardem is by far his best performance. I believe he's evil. I just don't relate to the character as much because of the force of evil thing, so it's hard for me to grasp. Like, I understand why. It's just not my favorite. Like, some of the scenes that he's in is really good. I think I've said on record that I think No Country for Old Men, the ending is a little bit blah for me. It's good, but it doesn't live up to where I wanted to go. And I'm not the biggest Coen Brothers fan of that. I know I've said that before, but fair enough. I can't argue with it. I believe if I would have made my list, I think he would have been probably 6 on my list, but he would have been on my list. Jay, Brooklyn.
I made a handy dandy guide here. So lawful good, neutral good, chaotic good. Anton comes right here. He's neutral evil. Like, to me, that's exactly how I see him. Great villain, scary as shit, but not really a number one spot for me.
I knew this was another one that was going to be high on. I know Kaleb Koho, so it's one of kind of surprises that it's that high on Bowman's. It's in the list of shit to watch.
On the shit to watch. Stop watching shit. Okay, Jay, you're going to close it out because he already revealed his number one. What is your number one?
Hans Landa, Inglourious Bastards. Was this anybody else's number one? Or
this is on all of our lists, but you're the only
my number
one.
2.
Okay. Hans Landa is colloquially known as the Jew hunter. He doesn't hate Jews. He even states in the movie that he doesn't hate Jews. It's just his job. And I think that's one of the things that makes somebody as villainous and as evil as possible. They don't see anything wrong with what they're doing, but they have to do it. And he is the driving force behind this entire movie when it comes right down to it. His conversation with Mr. Lapadette at the beginning of the movie, the way he manipulates him into revealing the fact that there are people in the basement, and the conversation that they carry on with is just incredibly terrifying. The fact that this man is as smart and as emotionally and intellectually manipulative as he is one of the reasons why he does make my number one. I think he's one of the best villains that's been put to screen in a very long time.
Brooklyn.
Yeah, I think the best way for me to describe him is he's almost like a troll. Like I agree with Jay where he's incredibly intelligent and he's almost thinking 3 steps ahead. But like Jay said, like whenever he's talking to that guy and people are hiding under the table, like he knows that it's there, so he's like let's just toy with them and let's have some fun with this. Similar to whenever Brad Pitt and the other guys come in and they're trying to do their best Italian, and it's clearly like a thick Texas accent, and then Hans comes in, speaks fluent Italian, and then he's like, I know what's going on here, but I'm gonna have some fun with this, and I'm gonna toy. I'm gonna make your life miserable. So yeah, just to sort of echo Jay, a manipulative troll that's so fun.
Yeah, everybody else had it, so whoever wants to talk next, go for it.
Go ahead, Boatman.
Great character, great movie. He is terrifying and funny at the same time. Like, you get that great Dominic DeCoco, and you get that great stuff, but you get the opening scene where he's just toying with the guy, like you say. Or another scene where he's doing that, him and Shoshana in the restaurant, and he orders the what is
apple strudel.
Yeah, it's the strudel and the
because you have to have the whipped topping on it.
Mm-hmm, and the whipped topping, and you just know that he knows, and you know that she knows. but we don't know what's going to happen, and he just lets her go, but he just leaves her terrified, and that's great. And it's definitely a great villain.
Yeah, I think the perfect trilogy of supporting actor winners is Bardem, Ledger, Waltz, just year rate 3 in a row. Shigur, Joker, and Hans Landa. And I think they're the unholy trinity of 3 of the greatest villains of all time. I don't resonate with Inglourious Basterds like everyone else, but I appreciate Hans Landa as a villain. I think he is terrifying, especially the opening scene, and basically what everyone else said. I can't deny that Hans Landa is an incredible villain, even if the movie for me is like my 5th favorite Tarantino. But Landa is the highlight of the film. He steals every scene. Waltz's performance makes that movie, and he's incredible. That's why he's on my list.
That's a bingo.
Because he has to read. That's why it's the 5th one. He doesn't like reading pictures.
How did you know?
I know.
It's not that he doesn't like to. He just doesn't know.
Ouch. Hans Landa. Boatman left. Hans Landa is fantastic. Again, a movie does really well when your heart starts racing and you're not doing anything. Like that scene in the beginning when he's like, they're just having general conversation, and then he finally switches and is like, I'm guessing they don't know English. So we'll switch, and like talks about what's going to happen. I'm like, what? No fucking way. I love Inglourious Basterds. I love Christoph Waltz. I love that you said the unholy trinity or whatever you said. Fucking yikes on that.
The unholy trinity of 3 of the greatest villains of all time.
And you have met 7.
Because he's my least favorite of the 3.
Okay. So yeah, it's a fantastic performance. I think he does really good in this. And deserve the Oscar, 100%. So that's your list. Those are your top 10. Everybody has said it. Give out some grades. We're a little short on time, actually. Surprising. Good job, everybody. We'll go through some honorable mentions that people had that they didn't get to bring up. Brooklyn, we'll start with you.
Professor Snape, Lord Blackwood, Sherlock Holmes, Common Candy, already mentioned. The House from Monster House, I was considering putting that on there. I think that's a great fucking film. It doesn't get talked about enough. Tyler Durden, Thanos, White Goodman, Ivan Drago, Dr. Evil, and then I almost considered Rosamund Pike, but just the way the movie ends, I don't know if they're quite villains, but just so torturistic assholes.
Did you say Snape?
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Watch fucking Harry Potter. Okay. He's not a villain. He's a misunderstood character. Dr. Evil, too. Dr. Evil's good. Just to let you know. He just wants fucking laser beams attached to their freaking head. We'll go to Boatman next.
Angel Eyes from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Biff Tannen. Juror number 3 from 12 Angry Men. Lashif from Casino Royale. Max Cady from the 1991 Cape Fear. Agent Smith from The Matrix. Yeah.
We'll go Jay.
Saruman, Lord of the Rings, made my honorable mentions. Toth from Raiders. Pazuzu, the demon from The Exorcist. Killmonger, actually, over Thanos. I liked him better. Freddy Krueger. Judge Doom. And just for shits and giggles, because Brooklyn threw in Snape, I'm Dumbledore.
Of course you would.
Brooklyn, hold on, Brooklyn. You said another animated villain's better than Scar. What was it?
I think it's the House from Monster House.
You're fucking crazy. Me, Boatman, and Cam will probably end up doing an episode devoted to Monster House for 19 and counting, but there's no way it's better than Scar.
No.
Fucking yikes. God.
Okay.
Lose to Jafar, I get it, but fuck, man. Okay, go ahead. Go.
Cool. This is where a lot of my comic book villains are: Thanos, Vulture, Killmonger, Magneto, being 4 of them. Ivan Drago was an honorable mention because he's a killing machine in 4, and then he gets kind of humanized in Creed 2, and I think like it improves upon him. Silva from Skyfall, but I chose Anton Chigurh because I didn't want 2 Bardem villains on my list. And because I'm a shill. Hector Barbosa from the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie is a really good villain, but I couldn't put him on the list because every movie after that he's a hero. But he is a great villain in that first movie.
You best start believing in ghost stories. You're in one.
Yeah.
All right. Let's reveal the. Oh, should I do grades or should I release the top 10 list?
Your show, your order.
Grades. The winner of Your List Sucks today is Kaleb Koho.
What?
Bullshit.
Ew! No!
Did you at least put chapstick on before kissing his ass every pick?
Jesus Christ.
Caleb Koho literally put Scar at 3, Jenny at 5. He had Hans Landa on his list. He also had Anton Chigurh. Calvin Candy, I also agreed with. I didn't have a lot of issue with his overall.
Yeah, get fucked, Boatman.
It's his first ever win. Number 2 will go to Jay Burns. Jay Burns will take number 2. Had a lot of interesting choices on there. Number 3, fuck, I wish I had everybody's list on the thing. Number 3 is going to go to Caleb Boatman because Boatman had he at least had some interesting choices on there. I agreed with some of them. He had some minor misses. I think like not having Scar but having Judge, but I understood his reasoning. Oh, no, number 3 is not Brooklyn. Brooklyn is in last place. Brooklyn lost. Brooklyn lost.
Koho. I want you to do, take this dollar, go downtown, run into a homeless person, give him this dollar, have him come here, and he will have more original thoughts about movies than you do.
Big oof.
Hey, Boatman, maybe if you got off your high horse and took that stick out of your ass, you could stop sucking the dick of every movie that was made before 1960 and be a human being.
My number 1 was from 2007, so shut up.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. You put number 1 is from the year 2007.
Yeah, I've got a ton of
How many movies from pre-1980 on your list, you pretentious hack? All right.
Okay. I think the only reason Brooklyn does get last place is I think Jessup was a little high. I think everybody had actually good lists today. I don't think anybody really had a bad list. I think Jessup was a little high for you. I also believe that Terrence Fletcher was a little bit, but I honestly really liked your list. It's just somewhere a little bit off. So I give this overall grade. I give this probably the highest that I've given on any show. I give this a solid B+. I think this is an overall great list for what came out. I don't agree with everything, like everybody's number 1 and stuff like that, but well done, everybody. Regardless if Koho kissed my ass or not, it still paid off for him, so he got the win.
Right.
So starting at number 10 is Norman Bates, Psycho. Number 9 is Annie Wilkes, Misery. Number 8 is HAL 9000. 2001: A Space Odyssey. Number 7 is Nurse Ratched. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Number 6 is Colonel Jessup, which would be probably an okay choice range. Number 5 is Terrence Fletcher, Whiplash. Number 4 is Scar from Lion King. Number 3 is Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men. Number 2 is Hans Landa. And the number 1 overall is the Joker. It had the highest food. So, again, everybody, I appreciate everybody for being on this panel. I loved how Boatman and Koho went at it. I do think the Jenny pick was for me, and I will appreciate it to the other time. Jenny didn't make the list, which kind of pissed me off because she deserves it. Guys, again, this wasn't live, but please send me your list. It will air. You'll see it on Wednesday. So the next one is going to be horror movies with Nazario. He will be doing it. So if you have best horror movies, send me your list, and he'll rip you apart in English or Spanish, whichever he chooses. Then we do Oscars, Got It Wrong, Director's Edition. You pick a director that put a movie out the same year as somebody won, and you can nominate it or something that was nominated. It's your choice on that panel. Then we have Overrated Films 2000. Received 1 list so far. Yikes. But I'm excited for more yikes. I need that. And then please send me your list. We'll have new ones coming out. So thank you, Jay. Thank you, Boatman. Thank you, Brooklyn. Thank you, Koho. Thank you, everybody, for watching live. Have a good night and send me your list.
Drive safely.
Driving safe. Wreck your cars. I don't care.